LSU fans and the community are bracing as we speak for tonight's celebration and parade for Jay Clark's championship gymnastics team. The parade will begin at 6:30 p.m. at the LSU School of Music and will follow the route down Victory Hill, culminating in the PMAC in what is expected to be a massive celebration. This is Jake McMains, and welcome to TigerRag.com's Audibles podcast. Here's what we've got on tap for today. LSU gymnastics coach Jay Clark will relive pivotal moments and what he was thinking as the Tigers got there, finishing their climb and winning the first national championship in program history. Clark also talks about his text message to the team 48 hours before when national arch-rival number 1 ranked Oklahoma did the unthinkable and faltered in the semifinal Group 2 action. Clark's main concern was the team's psyche in the aftermath of the Sooners' unexpected demise, and not to buy into the fan, family, and friend sentiments that basically intimated Oklahoma's downfall meant the path was cleared for LSU. In the span of a few minutes, Clark said LSU went from the hunter to the hunted, and that concerned him. Clark also talks about what happened on Sunday, as the University of Georgia had contacted him and his staff in an attempt to lure them away from LSU gymnastics to Georgia with a massive payday. Todd and Jeff then talk with longtime advocate columnist Scott Rabalais, who has covered LSU gymnastics for decades, and his thoughts, plus what he and Brian Kelly discussed at the Zurich Invitational in New Orleans on Tuesday. We'll be back after this.
It's your time to move things forward. U.S. Army Reserve.
Y'all ready? Yeah. Let's go. Come on.
Tiger Rag Radio is on the air.
Let's crank this thing up.
We're statewide, breaking down the latest happenings with LSU athletics.
This is us.
Hear from the coaches,
Put together a defense that puts us in a position to win the SEC.
the players,
Having fun and we working, baby. That's it,
the
baby.
recruits,
Show some passion and some heart.
and those who cover the Fighting Tigers of LSU and the
All
SEC.
those things are going to be there, which are important.
It's 2 hours of nonstop LSU
What
talk.
a privilege. I mean, you get to represent LSU.
Tiger Rag Radio is brought to you by Cummins. Cummins creates power solutions that the world depends on. Helm Paint and Decorating. The paint experts of Louisiana. Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Max Home. And the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Get ready to talk Tigers with producer Jackson Blackman and our hosts, Todd Horne and Jeff Palermo.
Three great players that are better people than they are players.
This is Tiger Rag Radio.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Tiger Rag Radio, a big show for you. I'm Jeff Palermo, along with Tiger Rag editor Todd Horne. Want to thank Michelle Southern over at Eagle 98.1 for producing a new open for us. As, hey, anytime LSU wins a national championship, we got to do a new open. I think that's the new rule here at Tiger Rag Radio.
Well, we probably won't have to do one for a little while.
Oh, come on. No, gymnastics is going to repeat next season.
Well, that's a year.
And we are going to be talking with the head coach for the LSU gymnastics squad here just in a second, Jay Clark. We're also going to have former LSU pitcher Anthony Renato. He knows something about winning national championships. He was on the 2009 team. We'll get his thoughts on the LSU baseball team. We'll also hear from Charles Landry. He's the attorney for the Tiger Athletic Foundation, and we'll have him on discussing a possible new arena for LSU. And Scott Rabalais, who has been covering the LSU gymnastics program for a long time now, and obviously a lot of all the other sports at LSU. He'll join us. We'll also sneak in Mike Detillier to talk about the draft. But let's bring in the head coach for the LSU gymnastics team, the national champion head coach Jay Clark. Coach Clark, how you doing? Have you been able to catch your breath yet?
No, not at all, man. I ain't caught my voice back yet. I'm still recovering, but it's been a whirlwind for the last couple of days for all of us, the team and staff, but it's tremendous. I told the team today, just I know you feel like you're drinking from a fire hose right now, but just make sure you stop and appreciate the applause that you're getting from your fans, because these moments don't come around all the time, and they need to just enjoy it while they have it.
Jay, I have to ask you, because I think you mentioned the fire hose. It reminded me of water. What happened to that cup you were chewing on and gnawing on for the last 20 or so minutes of the meet?
Well, when Aaliyah dismounted, I threw it full of water straight up in the air, and I don't know exactly where it came down, but it was an impulsive reaction. I think some of the water may have actually gotten on Dr. Etheridge when I threw it up in the air. But I went through 3 or 4 cups in that final rotation. It was one of those things where you're in the middle of it, and you've got them prepared. They're where they ought to be. That you've done everything you can, and at the same time, I'm sitting there going, God, take it out of my hands, because I can't do anything about this. I just wanted it so bad for these kids because they've done everything so right.
I can't imagine, because it was absolutely nerve-wracking to watch. I mean, it's just so tense. And for Aaliyah to get up there on the beam and nail that when she needed to. Obviously, she had a little bit of cushion, but I don't know if she even knew that at that time.
No.
What were you thinking?
None of us did.
Yeah, none of you did. What were you
yeah,
thinking?
we were trying to do the math. Garrett was trying to get the math to me, and then they shut the scoreboards off in the arena. I guess they were trying to keep the suspense. I don't know, but when we got to that event, on the final event, even though Utah had taken the lead a little bit, I was more concerned about Cal, who was behind us, because I felt like we had missed a little bit of an opportunity, nothing major on bars, to put a little distance between us, because bars has been their best event all year long. And I knew that our beam was good enough to overcome Utah's vault because if they had a weakness, that was it. I just was concerned that we had not put enough distance between ourselves and Cal, and was really trying to do the math in my head as best as I could. And then when Sav came off the beam, I thought, oh boy, this could go poor. But there was a moment right after that where Sierra Ballard grabbed Aaliyah Finnegan, and they sort of grabbed each other and exchanged words, and they kind of leaned in and headbutted each other. And it was like one of those things where you just look at them and you knew they were in the right place, and they were not going to let this thing slip away.
Jay, the degree of difficulty of Aaliyah's, I guess, what do you call it? Exercise on the beam, or her routine. My understanding is that that's a lot more difficult, than what
it is.
Could you explain that a little bit? Because it looked amazing.
She does her tumble series on the beam, where she tumbles down the entire length of the beam, has got 3 elements in it, and there's back-to-back layout flips with without getting on her hands, in layman's terms, and that's a really high degree of difficulty. But in her case, we don't feel that it's too risky, because it's what she's comfortable with. It's the kind of thing where you kind of got to go sometimes with what your athletes feel the most comfortable with. We'll dial it back with certain athletes who might not be as comfortable on that event, but with her, she's very comfortable there, and does a whole lot better when she can push down the beam and be aggressive and keep the momentum moving down the beam. So she's got a reputation for just absolutely beautiful beam, and we've seen no reason to dial back. Sort of from philosophically, though, we do a little more difficulty than most teams anyway, because I feel like in some cases we do the sport a disservice if we don't remain progressive with the difficulty. That's the nature of our sport, is that it's constantly progressing and getting more difficult, and you're pushing the envelope and the ceiling of what the human body can do. And so we tend to do that if we can do it with a level of proficiency that doesn't allow us to take too much risk.
Your final 4 competitors on beam, Connor McLean, Kaya Johnson, Haley Bryan, and then Aaliyah Finnegan. Were you saying, hey, I don't think I'd want any other 4 competitors than them to finish this thing off?
You nailed it. I mean, those back 4 have been money all year long, and I knew, the first 2 are great too, but I knew once we got past the first 2, those back 4, if the first 2 hit, those back 4 would be really settled, and I fully expected big scores out of all 4 of them, and boy, did they deliver it at a time. I mean, we set a school record in the final rotation of a national championship. That doesn't happen very often, and that's a special group, and we've got we've got a couple of them that we're going to add to that next year. It should be fun.
Yeah, that's what I think is cool about this national championship, because you look at the recent ones in football. LSU was in control of those games by the fourth quarter. You know, look at last year's baseball national championship, and the game was over in the third inning. Even women's basketball last year, LSU got control of that game in the fourth quarter. Here is a national championship where your team had to come from behind. It was almost like you were down by a couple runs going into the ninth inning.
Yeah, we in truth we were, but as we went through the meet, I never felt like we were not in control, and almost, even though the numbers said we weren't in the lead, because when I look at it event to event. In other words, once every team has done the same event we did we win that event? Did we win that event? Were we second on that event? And as we came to the last rotation, I felt like our beam would hold up if we could stick with Cal's bars, because we had beaten them on floor. They might have gotten us a little bit on vault, but I felt like our beam could hold up. So it's kind of a little bit nuanced that way, but that's the way I felt. I felt like even though we were behind, I didn't feel like we were behind.
I want to go back 48 hours prior to winning the national title. What was going through your mind as you were watching Oklahoma have its struggles on vaults and then on the beam?
Well, I had gone back to my hotel room and was in there just trying to relax, and I'd gotten on the phone with my mom and was just, trying to figure out what I was going to eat for dinner. And and my phone started blowing up, and they said, "Are you watching this?" So I walked into my hotel room and turned the TV on. And by then Oklahoma had already had 3 falls on vault. And I thought, well, I didn't think they had it in them, but I can relate. I've been there, and no matter how great your team is, sometimes we're human and things can get away from you. But I knew then too, that if they didn't have any more trouble, they were capable of coming back on 3 events and still finding their way in. So I kind of turned it off and didn't really want to. And I texted the team and just said, "This has never been about another team all year long, and it's not going to be about another team now. Let's make sure we don't, get too hyped or start believing all the noise that will come." And I was proud of how they handled it. Actually, I think our fans and our families were more excited about it than we were, but it was, within 36 hours, we became the hunted instead of the hunter.
I got to say, I was excited, Jay. I know you're trying to calm down the team, but I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, and someone gave me this analogy, because you always got to use the analogies especially for those that don't follow gymnastics. This would have been like in the national semifinal game in 2019, Joe Burrow going out there and throwing 4 interceptions and Oklahoma beating LSU. I mean, that's right. That was kind of the performance, what we saw from the Sooners, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, but isn't that the game? That's it. It comes down to who can perform when they have to. And ultimately, the team that performs best when they have to is the one that ends up being remembered as the best team. And so, I was surprised. I didn't think they had that in them. They had been incredibly consistent all year long. But at the same time, I wanted the team to stay grounded and understand that our mindset and our mission did not change.
Coach, I understand that you're expecting the number 1 recruiting class coming into Baton Rouge next year. So when you look at your roster, and I know there's a lot of work that needs to be done between now and then, but how confident are you in it that you're going to be able to possibly return to the NCAA championships or the semifinals?
Well, I don't think there's any question that on paper we have the personnel to do it. But here's the thing: every team is different personality wise. You take a few personalities out and add a few more to the mix, and you've got to work at that chemistry, and you've got to work at that culture all over again. And you've got to make sure that the leadership that remains has the proper influence on the newcomers and that they assimilate into that system and those attributes that we want to exude. And so, I know that from a physical standpoint, we have it. But look, I've been doing this a long time, and I've been part of 9 national championships right now in one capacity or another, and I've seen teams that should have won it on paper, that didn't come close, and I've seen teams that had no business thinking they could win who ran off with it. So, so much of it will depend on how we come together next fall and what the attitude is. It's hard for people to really grasp that in a sport that is so individual, but on the outside. But it really does matter, and I honestly believe that the reason we did as well as we did is because these kids stayed true to doing things for the right reasons. They were doing them for each other and not just for themselves, and that's been a pillar of what we've been trying to build here for a long, long time.
Coach, what do you have to say about the reports that your former employer, Georgia, contacted you and your staff and tried to bring you on fresh off this national championship with this recruiting class coming in, and you hadn't even had your parade yet, and supposedly they've already reached out to you?
Well, here's what I have to say about it. We're staying at LSU, and we as a staff, it was important for us. We did huddle up on Sunday together and to kind of go through what our priorities were as a staff. Courtney and Garrett are also graduates of the University of Georgia, as am I, and I just think at the end of the day, we know we have something special here, and LSU and the fans here and everybody has been so good to me since I've been here. And, ultimately we came to the conclusion that what we have going right now is special, and we want to see this thing through, and we want to stay together as long as we can. I don't know how long I can keep, I've got great coaches with me, but we'll do the best we can to keep it together, keep us all together as long as we can. And that was my goal. I was willing to, for my own priorities, it was more about that than it was about me getting some massive payday. And I wanted to make sure that our assistants were taken care of. And look, LSU took care of us, and so we're thrilled to be here. We have no intention of going anywhere now, and just excited about the future.
So when the women's basketball team had a parade and a celebration in the Maravich Center, I'm sure you watched and you said, man, this would be cool if they did this for us when we win a national title. So what are you looking forward to most Wednesday night when they have the parade?
I'm just looking forward to the kids being celebrated. Our fan demographic is a little different than everybody else's. We've got a lot of families with young children, so I'm hopeful they'll come out on a school night, and I'm hopeful they'll bring their kids out and celebrate with us for a little while, and that we can share this historical thing. It's the first time in 50 years of the program that a national title has come home to LSU, and I'm hope we'll have a big crowd and be able to enjoy a little time with them.
Coach Clark, congratulations. What a run. Looking forward to you guys making another run. Have fun tomorrow night, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, guys, thanks so much for having me on. I'll talk to you all again soon. Go Tigers.
There we go. Jay Clark, national champion head gymnastics coach for the LSU Tigers. We'll be back after this here on Tiger Rag Radio.
May is here, and with it comes adventure from your friends at the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Enjoy your summer with the 2024 Summer Reading Program. Besides reading fun, check out free programs for all ages at your library. Go to ebrpl.com/summerreading. That's ebrpl.com/summerreading. Your EBR Parish Library is where summer fun begins.
Tiger Rag Radio.
The details do matter. Every step, every hand on the ground, every route, everything that we do has a purpose. We are really focused, and our attention to detail is going to be unmatched.
Back here on Tiger Rag Radio, Jeff Palermo along with Tiger Rag editor Todd Horne joining us on the Max Home hotline. Over 50,000 Max happy homeowners and counting. Columnist for the Advocate, Scott Rabalais joining us. Scott, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Just on my way back from the Zurich Classic.
Oh, yeah.
In New Orleans.
How did Brian Kelly hit him?
Man, 3 holes in one, hitting a 350-yard drive. He was a man. No, Brian's a pretty decent golfer, actually. He's a pretty decent golfer, and they were just playing a little 4-hole shootout. It was him, Chris Berman from ESPN, Roger Clemens, Deuce McAllister, and Blake Groupie, the Saints kicker. And they were just out there. It was a beautiful afternoon, and but he's heading to Detroit for the draft tomorrow. Him and Cortez Hankton and Joe Sloan to be with those guys for the first round of the draft Thursday in Detroit.
Scott, how did Brian make any tackles? I mean, how was his defense? That's the big question, of course, coming out of spring.
Yeah. Yes, I think he was on the little defensive. He was on the defensive on the ninth hole, which is a par 3 with water on the left and yod alligator. So he was a little on the defensive there for sure. He left his tee shot out to the right, but it wasn't bad. He was pin high, did okay.
Well, that's
but
good.
I asked him about going in the portal for defensive tackles, and he didn't say anything specific as you would expect, but right. he said that he thought in the next couple of weeks they'd be landing some guys. It's a premium position, of course, and obviously he's made it clear this is the position of need for LSU in this transfer portal window.
Yeah, it has been kind of really quiet this first week or so of the early round, but we'll talk a little football in a minute. Let's talk about, I think, what might be your favorite sport of all, gymnastics. And I've got to ask you, I mean, you and I were in J school together. We started working at the Advocate at the same time, roughly. You, for the last, I would say, and I'm just guessing here, but for the last 25 to 30 years, you could have probably covered any sports you wanted to cover. You had that prerogative and that seniority and that leverage to do what you wanted to do, but you always stuck with gymnastics. Why is that?
Well, they deserve to be covered. I mean, they've had a lot of really good teams. I mean, obviously this is the best year they've had, certainly. But a lot of great athletes. They draw really well. I mean, they led the nation in attendance. But I don't know. They always seem to appreciate the coverage with the gymnastics. And I'm always I'm one of those people that kind of is always a little pro underdog. And obviously, women's sports has kind of a soft spot in my heart. Women's basketball and gymnastics because they've had to struggle. They've had to struggle for the for the funding and the attention and the respect over the years. And, you have to say, guys, especially over the last few, recent years, maybe, let's go back to the Simone Augustus, Sylvia Fowles days,
Right.
A lot of LSU's success and national reputation has been garnered from its women's sports, and in no small measure. And obviously, this team is a big part of that. But there's some great stories. I mean, talking about Dee Dee Bro about this championship and how she got the call that said Bob Broadhead wants to see you, the athletic director at the time. They're going to kill the program. She said, I'm not going over there to talk to him. And she avoided that somehow. And I love those stories like that. And people like her and Sue Gunner and of course Kim Mulkey, who are they're still around, and they're still living examples of people who are pioneers in their sports before there were sports. I think a lot of people today don't know that it was AIAW before the NCAA. LSU's only been the 8th team to win the national championship.
I couldn't believe that. I could not believe that when I saw that stat.
Right.
That's crazy.
A very small club.
Yeah,
a very small club. Exactly. So, it's only been that since 1982. It's not that long ago, but long ago now, where a lot of people don't remember what it took, the sacrifices and the struggles it took for these women to gain a foothold and to be accepted, and now not just accepted, but thriving. And you see, the massive TV ratings and the crowds, and it's really been an interesting. It's really been something interesting to watch over the course of my career, the way it's developed. It really has.
Well, Saturday night, let's fast forward or backtrack to Saturday night. Were you sitting on the edge of your press bench there, concerned that they weren't going to be able to pull it off maybe for about 5 minutes or so?
Well, you're concerned that you got to hit the deadline. Of course, first of all, it's all about me. First of all, in those situations, and that's another good thing about gymnastics, guys. There's no overtime. There's no overtime. It's not going to get rained out. There's not going to be a weather delay or anything like that.
Oh, now I understand. Now I get the real reason why you always did it.
Exactly. You got it, Todd. But They led after the first rotation, led after the second rotation. After the third rotation, they fall behind Utah by a fraction of a point. They're going to beam, which is it's an event that where literally anything can happen.
Yeah,
you're 4 feet off the ground, a 4 foot wide thing. That's
4
the width
inch
of your
wide.
cell phone.
4 inches.
4 inch wide. That's the width of your cell phone. Okay, try to stay on that and perform and do it well. And Utah is on vault, and California is on bars, and they've got a shot as well. And LSU just goes out and nails it. Other than Savannah Shane-Hara, she said, I still don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Where she lost her footing second spot, but the rest of them just nailed it. Sierra Ballard 9.95, Connor McLean a 9.9625, best score of the meet, and then 3 straight 9.95 to clinch it. And you kind of knew they had it, and they ended up winning by about 4/10, which in football terms they probably won like 41-27.
Yeah.
Okay, it was kind of the final margin of victory, but it was pretty dramatic because Aaliyah Finnegan, like the last routine, she has to stay up. It's not a whole lot to ask, but anything again can happen. And she midway through her routine, she does this triple backflip combination. When she landed that, you knew they had one hand on the trophy, and it was just it was as dramatic as you wanted.
Yep.
And when she stuck the landing, she burst into tears, and everyone knew it that they were going to win.
Yeah. So, what happens less than 24 hours later when Georgia has the audacity to contact them? We talked to Jay earlier, just in case. I know you were driving, so you probably didn't get to hear that. But
I did not.
Yeah, he said that he said he actually considered it, considered it, like gave it the respect. I'm not saying he seriously considered it, but huddled with his coaching staff, and there was absolutely no way. But what do you know about it?
Yeah, I started to hear about this Friday night. So between the semifinals on Thursday and the championship meet on Saturday, I started to hear about this Friday night that Georgia had just fired Courtney Kupets, one of their all-time great gymnasts who Jay Clark helped to coach. In fact, he told me that Courtney Kupets and Haley Bryant are the two best gymnasts he's ever coached in his entire career. And that like they're gonna make a serious run at him and his staff, because but LSU did enough to want to keep them, and I don't think they really wanted to leave. But all's well that ends well for LSU.
Scott, we'll have to get you on again here soon. Talk a little bit about look ahead to football, but we got all spring and summer to do that. Thanks a lot for your time tonight.
I think that most people that contact the 90-Day Lifeline are looking to be heard and to feel seen.
Anybody that calls here to talk about anything that has them upset, we will talk to them.
Even on our chat and text services, you will be actually chatting and texting with a real person.
We have enough resources to be able to help people in any type of situation.
We have helpline specialists that are trained to handle the variety of calls that we get.
It's a very laid-back thing. We're not judging anybody. We're just a listening ear that some people don't have.
That'll be it for today's show. Thanks for listening in. Be sure to check back this week as LSU baseball heads into a crucial weekend series against Auburn and Alex Box. We'll also be bringing you news from the 2024 NFL Draft as that kicks off on Thursday. Be sure to check in on TigerRag.com for all the latest updates and sports news.